Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, chap. Welcome to the Green Arrow FPL podcast and Fantasy Football Hub as we look ahead to Game Week 24. And a bombshell, firstly, brace yourself. If you haven't been on Twitter, we do have a bit of a bombshell for you. But as you can see, we are one like this week, and we will be going forward as Adam has made the decision. He won't be joining us anymore due to work commitments. As you may know, Adam's been working a new job for a while now, and it's been really tough for him to find time to prepare and make time for the podcast, for which he always wanted to do justice and give his all. But with his work and family, it's become unmanageable for him, so he has decided to step away from the podcast. As you can imagine, we are absolutely gutted, but completely understand as real life comes first. Adam has co-hosted the Green Arrow with me since our very first episode way back when, and has been a huge part of over 150 episodes. He's one of the best FPL managers ever, and his insight, sense of humour and reliability were fantastic. We will all really, really miss him. He is hoping when his schedule eases, he can jump on for an odd episode and give me a ribbon about my dodgy picks. Welcome, Rich. Do you have anything to add before we move on?
No, well said. I mean, Adam, he's become a really great friend over the last couple of seasons, and I think what I'll miss most about Adam is he's the epitome of a true football fan.
Absolutely.
You know, he's a season ticket holder at Aston Villa, really loves his team, and I think he has his perspectives right in terms of FPL, whereby his team comes first, and following his team and supporting his team comes first. I think that's a lesson to some of us in terms of how obsessed we can get with FPL. However, his knowledge of football is what sticks out for me. You know, his knowledge of tactical football, how it works, not just about Villa, but across the game, and how he applies that to his FPL. That's something I think we're going to find difficult to replace in the short term. But we'll do our best. Certainly, Adam, you know, often contributes a statistical element to the show. And I'll be working to try and back him up in that respect from now on. But yeah, it won't be the same without him, Fergie, and hopefully we'll still manage to give people what they want.
Indeed, and you know, I'm sure he'll be on again for an odd appearance here and there. It's just it's proved a bit much, which is absolutely fair enough. He does have a message for everyone, so he did put on Twitter this week after he messaged us. Obviously, I'm sad to announce I'll be leaving the Green Arrow with immediate effect. Like all good things, they have to end at some point. Unfortunately, no longer have the capacity to give the 100% commitment that this great podcast deserves. He says, I have enjoyed filming every single episode, each packed with laughter and great memories. I feel privileged that I was entrusted by Fantasy Football Hub to create a podcast. There are lots of people I need to thank. And he says, firstly, I want to thank all the listeners and viewers. One of the best parts about filming live is the audience interaction, which definitely adds another dimension. Thanks also for all the great comments and feedback over the years. He goes on to thank Will from Fantasy Football Hub. He also obviously thanks Rich for taking the pod to a new level, and myself as well. As I say, we Adam and I started this podcast years ago with Andy Green. I can't remember. I think it's 5 years ago. Well, like I say, we're on episode nearly like 170. And he says, from our first violin to that Keenan Davis episode, for those who remember that episode a couple of seasons ago, that was an absolute classic. He said it's been an absolute pleasure to share the stage. So yeah, we're absolutely gutted. In terms of moving forward with the poll, we haven't really decided yet what to do in terms of potentially replacing Adam yet. So Rich and I and the occasional guest will take you through the end of the season, and then we will see what kind of happens after that. But the show must go on. Rich, how are you? And what colour was your arrow so far? No, not so far. In Game Week 24.
Yeah, Game Week 23 was one to forget from me. One to forget as quickly as I possibly can. I'm not sure if my team's on the screen, but yeah, it wasn't a week of the best decisions for me. The captaincy decision, I think most people agree that was a bit of a free swing last week, but my powers of deduction decided to pick a Bournemouth player to captain. And when I look back on that and think, you're picking a player where Bournemouth have shown some form a few weeks back, but generally speaking, when you pick a captain, it should be from a a premium team that wins most of their games, right? And has a thrashing in them. And really, that's a lesson to be learned from me that he didn't even have a shot, I don't think, Solanke. So people are talking about triple captaining for game week 28 now, and I certainly won't be.
Stop putting down my triple Bournemouth wildcard before we even get there, Rich. Flipping heck.
Exactly. So yeah, but then the Solanke captaincy paled into insignificance with the Foden benching, which I know I wasn't the only one to bench Foden, but it was one of those weeks where there just wasn't a weak link in the front eight, and quite a few people out there had to put Foden on the bench or decided to put Foden on the bench, and that's even worse, isn't it? When a player you own that you benched scores a hat trick. I mean, that really is. I don't think that's ever happened to me before. I've had a week where I've gone against the herd and captained Bruno Fernandes when everyone else has got Salah and captained him, but I've never known a swing like it. I was just sitting in front of the game. I just started to go, oh no, oh no. So I came
like
off
an arrow to the heart.
All social media for 48 hours because the last thing I wanted to see was people posting their points and their ranks and saying, how did you get on? I really did hide. And I thoroughly advise that as a tactic for anyone who has had a bad week.
I scored 105. How did you get on?
How did you get on?
How did you get on?
Exactly. No, I know. So, it was miserable. So my ranks... Yeah, I don't know, it's about over 600k again. So all the ground I'd made, or most of the ground I'd made up in the last 3 weeks, has been lost in one week. So back we go to the drawing board, Fergie. How did you get on,
mate? Do you know I've had the game week from all seasons, and it's not honestly like last week I was talking about Gordon, and I was really high on Gordon, and I think quite rightly, in all fairness, because I do think if he'd have stayed on the pitch, I think Newcastle scored another 2 to 3 goals in the second half. He wouldn't have injured half time, right? So I do feel he would have a double returned, had he stayed on the pitch. But the whole, I'm going to have to turn the violin on for this because it's like a little bit of a story. But obviously, because the double game week wasn't announced by Saturday, I didn't make any transfers, and I was determined if the double game week is announced, I am holding because I didn't have any Liverpool attackers, and I thought like I'm happy with Foden, right? I'm happy with Foden. I want Gordon, but I'm happy with Foden. If the double game week isn't announced, I'm going to hold my transfer, save it, and then just what will be happy going to next week. Basically, what you did is what I was going to kind of do, right? But my sons both have football every Saturday morning, and being the good father I am, once it wasn't announced, I think about 8 o'clock in the morning, I thought, right, I'm going to concentrate now on my son's game, so I'm going to make the transfer. It hadn't been announced, no way it's happening. I did Garnacho. I did Garnacho to Gordon. Right? And then a double game.
You moved one edge piece to another edge piece, basically.
Yeah, exactly that, right? And then the double game week was announced about 30 minutes later when I arrived at football, had a quick check, see if anything happened, and it was announced, and I was furious. I was livid that it'd been announced then, because I was thinking, why on Saturday morning? I think in the whole history of FPL, double game week never been announced on a weekend. So obviously I still had Gordon to play, so I was thinking, it's okay.
He'll do all right.
Yeah, he'd do all right. As it obviously worked out, Gordon got the 4 points, got the assists. I benched Foden, so if I'd not made a transfer, I would have played Foden. I would have benched Garnacho, I'll be honest, but I would have played Foden, so I would have had 16 more points. I would have had a free transfer. I would have now had enough players, enough transfers like in my team to comfortably get through game week 24, to go into 25 with enough Man City, enough Liverpool. And if that wasn't enough, Rich, on that day, right, after Foden scored his hat-trick, I went out the kitchen, my head reeling of the impact, because I also didn't bring into my Sky team. And as anyone who kind of knows me, I play all multiple formats. They're all really important to me. I didn't bring him into Sky team either, after podcasting a couple of hours earlier to say I was probably bringing him in. So I didn't. No. Do you know what? There's a bit before this. I had a snooker match that evening, right? Listen to this, mate. Listen to how it panned out. I had a snooker match that evening. So I was rushing to play the match, knowing that the lineups were coming out for Man City, because for Sky you can make transfers, on the evening, day, right? Yeah. So I played the first frame, and and the guy I was playing is a very good player. I was expecting to kind of win, but he won the first frame in a best of 3, which sort of put me in a difficult spot, because it meant then I didn't have much time to actually play it, right? So I played the second frame when I won. I had to stop the game. I had to run in the toilet at 10 to 8. Had to make my excuses and make transfers on my phone, not putting in Foden. I'm not sure if I would or wouldn't have. But then I got home, had my curry after that, and then I accidentally opened the chili flakes because my mind was so consumed with what was going on with Foden. I opened the wrong side of the chili flakes. You know when you've got the side which has got the little holes in, and you have to give it a bit of a shake, and little bits come out. And then you've got the other side of the chili flakes, of the little pot where you open. It's just open, right? So I accidentally opened the big part and shook half a jar of chili flakes in my curry, right, for me and my son. Right. So, and obviously my son's only 12. It was a tikka masala, so I wasn't going to give him any of the hot stuff. So I had to give him all the good half, and I basically burnt my whole mouth to bits. So that was my week. My team is shambles. I benched Foden. I've got no Liverpool attack. I've got no Haaland, and that's my team going into this game week. No Jota, no Darwin, no Haaland. I've got Alvarez, who had 5 shots on target but couldn't do anything. So yeah, I am wildcard and I am active, and we will look at that in a little bit. Just a couple of other quick VIOLIN moments sent in by Ollie Paul, the editor of the Hub. He actually benched Garnacho and Marino. So he had 30 points, but he did have Foden. But Ollie's friend as well sold Saka for Gordon, so -5 down on that, plus Gordon's injured. He sold Watkins for Haaland, which is -13 points. He sold Foden for De Bruyne for -15 points. He took a 4-point hit, so it was a total loss of 37 points for his game. So it's not only me, but yeah, it wasn't the best evening. You know when things just compound, little things compound. It's just like nothing can seem to happen. So, and then Foden's just banging in goals left, right, and centre as all this is going on. Anyway, with all that in mind, let's move on, Rich. We've got Ben Crellin's updated planner looking ahead to 24. Do you just want to kind of run through where we are?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, let's. I think the best thing to do is look forward now, Fergie. We look forward. We put a line under that, and we look forward now to the games to come. So this week we had the Cup replays, which I took a very active interest in, and my team Chelsea managed to get through to the 5th round. Hey, so there's one good thing to celebrate. So Chelsea knocked out Aston Villa, which if you look at the form book is really quite against what we were expecting. So that now means that the Aston Villa West Ham game is a confirmed fixture for game week 29. And I'll start with that week and kind of work back. So game week 29 is still looking, like very difficult week to navigate through, with only 3 confirmed fixtures. So we've had those Burnley, Fulham, Brentford fixtures known for some time, and Spurs are the big team that are playing that week. But now you can add West Ham and Villa into that. So there's quite a few people with Watkins, quite a few people with Bowen. Areola, the keeper, is very highly owned. So now at least owners of those guys have got the option of a game that week. But the big announcement, and again the surprise announcement that we got midweek, was that there was another double game week added into the week before that. So in game week 29 now, Luton and Bournemouth will both double. The Bournemouth-Luton fixture that was postponed earlier due to the cardiac arrest earlier in the season has now been rescheduled for game week 28. And that will mean that Bournemouth have a fixture with Sheffield United at home and Luton at home. So an absolutely
as good as it gets, isn't it?
Double game week, about as good as it gets. Luton don't have a bad double themselves with Crystal Palace away, Bournemouth away. So what that's led to is clearly an immediate opportunity with Luton in particular, because Luton play Sheffield United at home this weekend. They then have a double game week, albeit a hard one, at home to Man United, away to Liverpool. Then they blank then they play Villa at home, and then they have their double. But they also have a very good chance of still having a fixture in game week 29
Mm.
as well. So that would rely on, you know, uh, Nottingham Forest would have to beat Man United in the fifth round of the cup in order for that game to be postponed, and Luton would have to beat Manchester City in the fifth round of the cup. So neither of those things is very likely. So you could possibly ink that in as the fixture that's most likely to take place in game week 29 that hasn't been confirmed. So all of that considered, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck if you bring in Luton players at this stage. Very nice fixtures, very good home games. You could even argue that Man United at home is not a bad fixture for Luton the way they're playing. So you're getting a lot of immediate home games. Their players are very, very reasonably priced. So the likes of Alfie Doughty at 4.6, Adebayo on fire at 4.9. You've got some great enablers there that will allow you to move money around the team. So really like Luton. They've come onto the radar. And yeah, so decisions to make about Solanke, and we'll come on to players who can sell,
Yeah.
and players you should buy later on in the pod. But yeah, and then we see we've got Ben's graphic that's been doing the rounds today on a lot of the socials and the YouTube channels. But yeah, Ben's kindly updated the likelihood of blank percentages in that column there that you can see on the screen. And you'll see that, Brighton and Manchester City is almost 100% likely to be blank in that week, unless there is a miraculous set of results with Luton beating City, or Brighton beating, and Wolves beating Brighton. So very unlikely to result in a blank. But then as you go down, you'll see that Luton Forest fixture is the most likely to go ahead of the ones that haven't already been scheduled. What some of the teams perhaps that could still make it, I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea got beaten by Leeds. Leeds are not doing badly this season in the Premier League last season. They could quite easily win that fifth round tie, in which case Arsenal and Chelsea would be on that week, and that would do a lot of us a favour in terms of being able to navigate it. So I haven't written that off. The important thing is to note just that the round 5 FA Cup ties take place in the game week between game week 26 and game week 27. So after we've navigated the blank game week 26, we'll then have those FA Cup fourth round ties that week, and we will know who is blanking in game week 29 before we make our game week 27 transfers. So you'll then have a transfer in game week 27, 28, and 29 to build for that blank. And that's really occupying a lot of people's brain space at the moment, planning for that kind of thing.
It is, just kind of add on as well that there will be a double game week 34 and 37 consisting of the teams who blank in 29 as well, just for completeness. Like maybe because I play other fantasy games, I view game week 29 a bit differently for the people, in that it's not a very exciting game week regardless, right? But it seems to be that people are already making transfers now for the next 5 game weeks with one game week in mind, potentially compromising their team, leaving points that they would have already had just for one game week, which is a nothing game week anyway. If you look at the fixtures which are going ahead, West Ham and Villa, can you call that game? Anything jump out really exciting?
It'd be a 1-1 draw, couldn't it?
Fulham and Spurs, okay, probably something like a Fulham 1 Spurs 3 match potentially, but who knows? Yeah. And Burnley and Brentford, as much maybe Tony. Does anything really scream out from there? They're not. And even if Luton and Forest goes ahead, Forest held Bournemouth on the weekend. It just doesn't seem very exciting anyway. But people go crazy. Just I need to have whatever 7, 8, 9 players, but there's nothing there which is very exciting. And I do think that we're sometimes guilty, and we've done this before, haven't we? We've called ourselves out on it before, of letting go really good game weeks, good players, good fixtures, just so we can get the maximum amount of players we can in one game week, which is nothing game week anyway. So I think I just want to add that in there from my own perspective, because it does kind of.
I think it's very true. I don't think there's most of us. I've seen quite a few teams this week. Most teams have got about 2 or 3 current players that play in that week, and people are considering selling those players in order to have more doublers and more Liverpool, to your point, to have more Liverpool and more Manchester City assets for this week. And I think that's the right way to go. We've got arguably the highest ceiling scoring game week coming in game week 25.
Absolutely.
This could be 150 to 200 point game week for people who are using chips, bench boost, triple captains, having teams full of doublers. When we look at the number of doublers we've got in your wildcard draft later, it could be a 180 point game week. And if you're going to be worried about getting in Luton assets or Bournemouth defenders or Ivan Toney,
West Ham defender,
dreadful set of fixtures. It's like it does need some perspective, definitely. Yeah, you've got to play what's in front of you first before you worry about what's happening in 2 months' time.
So I'll just give the rationale for my wild card just while we've got this graphic up on screen, if that's okay. And it's very, like I say, I know it's a cliche and it's right, but it is team dependent. If I was in your position, Rich, I wouldn't wild card. If I hadn't have used my transfer last week, I wouldn't have I wouldn't be wild carding. But there's a couple of things, right? So I've only got one free transfer. I don't have Jota, I don't have Darwin, I don't have Haaland. I've got Foden, I've got Alvarez. Alvarez is probably, I think Alvarez is gonna be good. I think Alvarez will continue to play. I really do actually think he will, as much as the other players, but he's probably the one most at risk. Even though I think he played 90. Did he on Monday night? I don't think there's any or close to. I don't think there's any reason to think why. But Haaland, De Bruyne, and probably Foden have got, I would say, higher ceilings than Alvarez. I think so. I haven't got Darwin. I haven't got Jota. I've got Trent, which eats up a lot of funds, and with obviously I've had Trent for ages, right? But he's he was injured, and then he kind of lost. Well, I wouldn't say he lost his place, but he's being eased in again, and obviously the emergence of Conor Bradley, he's been absolutely superb, right? He will probably take minutes off Trent, you would guess, especially considering Liverpool are still in 4 competitions. So I think my interest in Trent as a 90-minute man is waning now, and I don't think he will be a 90-minute man anymore. So to pay, what is he, 8.6 million or something like that?
8.5, yeah.
That it doesn't look as good value as maybe it was pre-injury, where he was absolutely flying, right? So and there are other options as well. So he's eating a lot of my money as well. So if I want to do, basically, to get Jota, Darwin, Haaland, Alvarez and Foden, this is not even to get De Bruyne, I'm on nearly a minus 12 straight away, just to get a decent team for 24 and 25. And let's not forget that the fixtures for both Liverpool and Man City, they've got very good home games in 24. This is what's complicating it as well even further. If Liverpool-Arsenal game was this week, I wouldn't be that bothered, but home to Burnley again at the moment is about as good as it gets, right? And then they both go into decent doubles. City have got 4 home games in the next five game weeks. They play, they've got 4 home games in the next 4 game weeks. They've got 3 in the next 2 game weeks, all at home. They also play in 26. Liverpool have got Burnley at home, then Brentford away and Luton at home, which again, from an attacking perspective, is absolutely superb. Couple that with the fact as well that the other team that is doubling, or one of the teams is Luton, who have a really good home fixture in 24. Now I know it's Luton, but I think they scored 4 goals, then 4
goals in a week. Yeah,
8 goals in a week. Sheffield United have been terrible. Villa absolutely destroyed them. Now I'm not saying that Luton are going to do what they did, but Luton have to be heavy favourites now for that match and to at least score a couple of goals, right, before they double. The double is tough, United and Liverpool, but United should have conceded a couple of goals last weekend against West Ham, and Liverpool are always a bit kind of sussy at the back, right? So again, I expect Luton to score a goal or 2 in those matches as well. Luton do blank in 26. In terms of then 28, Luton also obviously double in 28, which is why they're such good value, as you mentioned earlier, in terms of they go all the way through. They've even got a chance of playing in 29 as well, which is why I think Luton assets at the moment are very, very good. So in terms of the rationale for my wild card, my team's in a bit of a state at the moment. It's very hard. I'm on -8, -12 just to get where I want out for 24, and even then I'm going to be behind the curve for 25, probably behind the curve for 26, etc., etc. So that's my rationale, and I also want to enjoy the next few game weeks. Right, there's going to be loads of goals, loads of points, and I want a bit of it. In terms of looking forward for 29, I think in the same boat roughly as everyone else. Anyway, like you say, it's a poor game week anyway. We don't know what 29 looks like. I'm also not overly bothered about using the free hits if I absolutely have to in 29, just because I want to get my season back on track. Looking ahead to the doubles of game week 34 and 37, they are likely going to be high-profile teams, of which I'm going to have most of the players anyway, because assuming that the FA Cup fifth round goes as planned, Man City go through, Liverpool go through, they both got really, etc., etc. I'm going to have those players anyway, right?
Got enough free transfers to build towards
exactly.
that,
well, I'm going to have City anyway. I'm going to have Liverpool anyway. So, and that's what the rest of them. If it was going to be made up of dodgier teams, it'd be more difficult. So that's why, don't get me wrong, I would love to have those chips to play. I would love to have free hit to play in 34 and 37. But it's not like I'm going to have a team full of nothings going against 30 double game weekers. I'll probably have like 20 myself or whatever. Exactly. And just to add on, Bournemouth, that double in 28, to say Sheffield United and Luton, because they play in 26, because they got half decent games now as well, I can afford to pick them and put them on the bench as well. So I think all in all, that's my rationale for wildcarding. But most of it is, like I say, I can be quite like an emotional player with this as well. I just want to enjoy all these game weeks. I want to enjoy them, and I want to give myself a chance. Do what I don't want to do. I don't want to scrape through each week now, dreading every time Darwin scores or Jota scores or Haaland scores, and thinking, oh my god, and go down to like a million rank, and then still, but at least I've got my chips.
I've got all your chips, and it's too late.
Gone,
yeah,
gone.
It's too late.
So, but I would also say, Rich, in your position, I wouldn't, because you saved the transfer and this is it. So I think you've already got Jota as well, haven't you, in place, which is another 4 I would have to hit. So that's my kind of thinking and rationale. Is this period of 5 game weeks, I think it's a really good opportunity for me to wildcard, get myself in a good position, and even if I have to take a couple of hits later on, I'm not taking hits for players that I need to get back out of. I'll be taking hits for players I want for the rest of the season, or teams that I want for the rest of the season. So hopefully that just gives a bit of perspective on why I'm wildcarding. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but it suits me, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. If it does suit your team, and your team, a lot of teams have got injured players, players that haven't been selected. For instance, you got players. We all bought a lot of us bought a Stupinan a few weeks ago. Could have been dropped, right? Or it may be unreliable as a starter. It's a chance to clear out all that kind of stuff, because what you do need in game week 26 is 14 players who are going to start the games, who are regular starters in your team, who are not injured, and that's not a given. You might see some content creators with clean teams, but some people have got a lot of rubbish on their benches. So wildcarding is an opportunity to clean that up. So fair enough, buddy.
Okay, so who to sell, Rich? Because obviously the players that we're going to be looking to bring in over the next couple of weeks, whether we're wildcarding or not, are Liverpool, Man City, potentially Luton, looking ahead to 26, 28, maybe Bournemouth, whatever else. But who to sell, mate? Because we are all. I'm wildcarding out, I think, actually every player on this screen. which is quite scary. So you've incidentally put up these 5 players of Palmer, Watkins, Solanke, Porro, and Gordon. I'm wildcarding all those 5 players out, and that scares me to death. And I'm wildcarding out others on top of that as well. But I suppose in order, Rich, what's your consideration?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure the chat will, challenge me on this and say, look, how could you possibly sell Watkins when he scored 18 points last week? And I captained him for 36. And how can you sell Solanke when he has a double game week in game week 28? How can you sell Porro when he's one of the most attacking fullbacks in the game? Look, they are good players. That's why they are in our teams and have been in our teams for dozens of weeks. Anthony Gordon is carrying an injury. Newcastle still have good fixtures for the next 2. Cole Palmer's the bargain of the season. An enabler I bought at 4.9 million. However, when you're starting to look across your team at players that you you want to lose or have to lose in order to get in the likes of Darwin, Jota, Van Dijk, Walker, Ake, wherever you might be looking at for these City and Liverpool slots, you've got to lose good players to get good players. And I was looking across, the commonly owned players, and I think there is a narrative that can be created to sell any of those guys pictured at the moment. Certainly, there's nothing wrong with holding them. If you're looking to tiptoe through game week 29, then maybe you hold on to Watkins because he's definitely got a fixture. Maybe you hold on to Jared Bowen for another 7 weeks. But they're not going to have double fixtures. They're not going to have extra games, and some of them have got really, really tough fixtures. So Watkins is probably the hardest sell of the lot because he's got a really nice game, I think, in 26 where he's arguably captainable. I think the Forest home game.
Yeah.
But if you move off, I still haven't got Haaland. I'm like you. I've got to get Haaland in this week with one of my transfers. If I move off Watkins to him, it gives me, I've still got 5 million quid in the bank to do something else. So I've got a De Bruyne. I possibly can get to a Salah if he's fit. I could do something amazing with that money if I sell Ollie Watkins. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but I'm just saying it's an option to sell him and bring him back later for game week 29 when we're through this double and we're out the other side. So there's a lot of competition for those forward spots, but he's definitely a candidate to sell. I mean, who would you sell first out of that lot if you owned all five? Because I own all five.
I'd sell Gordon because he's been confirmed that he's not going to be fit for this week. He'd probably be fit next week, but again, he might not. These injuries kind of work, or he's nearly ready. He's not quite ready. So again, just looking at what's in front of you, the immediate opportunity, you don't want to be holding on to an injured player when there's so many amazing options, right? So I think Gordon first there. I think with Oro, obviously Spurs blank in 26. They have got 2 home games now, but I do expect them to concede in both. I think Brighton battered Spurs just before Christmas, just after Christmas. 4-0, didn't they? They absolutely battered them. So I do expect Brighton to score against Spurs. I think they've got Wolves. Wolves are attacking really well. So again, he's really dangerous from an attacking view. But since Maddison's been back in the team, I saw a stat this week that this is from another kind of fantasy game. His bonus points, which you get for things like big chances created, shots on target, have dried right up. So I think there is an argument to get rid of Porro. It's obviously risky because he could bang in a goal or an assist, such as the thing. But he's 5.9 million for 2 games. I expect him to concede in, and then he blanks again. So I think he's dispensable. Armour blanks in 26. I think it would be him next in terms of third. They do have Palace this week, I believe, which is a good fixture.
Nice fixture.
And then Solanke and Watkins. I just think, as you touched on, pedigree is to keep Watkins right above Solanke. So I think if you had the choice, I would probably get rid of Solanke, but obviously you are going to want him back 100% in game week 28, is it? If not before. So in that kind of order in there, I would keep Watkins first, Solanke because I think they play in 26, then Palmer, then Porro, then Gordon. That would be my order there. So hopefully that helps. I think.
Helps me a bit. Yeah, helps me a bit. I mean, I've obviously got to decide whether to get Alvarez. I mean, the thing about Alvarez and keeping Alvarez is that we will possibly get a team news on Saturday morning. And so it might be worth keeping Alvarez for a week. If he starts, would you keep him? If he's guaranteed to start against Everton? I mean, I'd probably keep him for a week
definitely.
and then sell him the next week.
Yeah, no, I would. I'm only getting rid of him this week because I've got the opportunity to on Wildcard, but I wouldn't hesitate to play. I thoroughly expect him to start. He started. I know De Bruyne's been injured, then Haaland's been injured, but I think Alvarez has started every single game this season, and he went through a long stretch of playing 90 in every game. Doesn't get much of a rest. I think he's part and parcel now of that team. And I think it's players like Grealish and that now who are kind of getting left out to fit these players in. So I do expect Haaland, De Bruyne, Foden, and Alvarez to play most of the game. Not every game. They'll get a rest. They're still in Europe, etc. But I think they'll play most games. So
I
yeah,
haven't written off selling Alvarez though. I just might have to, in order to do what you say, in order to keep Watkins for
yeah,
for
exactly.
longer, just because of the fixtures that they've got. So it's a really tough call. There's no real obvious sells. I mean, I would say just sell the play. I didn't put a picture of Simicast up there, but I've still got Simicast in my team. So obviously, dealing with him is the sensible thing to do. But not many people have got Simicast
No, no, they haven't,
still
mate.
knocking around on their benches. So yeah,
He'd be fit
so
again before you know
get
it.
rid of the Deadwood first. I know he will. He'll be playing that Luton game. Yeah, absolutely.
And looking up
All right.
next on terms of transfers in, then, so in this graphic, you picked out a few players. Just want to kind of talk through the players you've picked out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've got room for 5 on here, but there could be a dozen that we pick one. I think Darwin made it on there, did
He
he?
did.
You've got
He
Darwin on
did.
there, presumably. There's a little bit of a lag on what I can see
Yeah.
here, but yeah, Darwin's definitely a player I'm thinking of coming in. The competition with the striker spots, as we've said, is really really intense. But the combination of the Burnley fixture this week plus the double game week for Liverpool looks irresistible. So I've already got Jota in and Darwin, and arguably I think you want 2 Liverpool attackers for those three games, or you're going to possibly be losing ground to most of your opposition. So Darwin's on there. I think, to your point earlier, I think Trent is a bit of a minutes risk now, particularly ahead of the League Cup
Yeah, that's
final.
it as
I do
well.
think that Bradley will get that game, that Luton game, and that Trent will have some minutes, but he won't play the full match in that game. So if you're going to go for a Liverpool defender, I think Van Dijk's probably the pick. So Virgil's made it onto the graphic here. He's someone that I'm considering. I'll either go for a City defender for Simicast or Van Dijk, and I'm more likely to go for the City defender just purely because they've got the game in 26, and it makes sense to have that. However, any City defender is rotatable. There's been some graphics come out this week with who's played the most games. I think Ake and Walker are probably the most reliable for minutes, but we saw Kyle Walker got a benching the other week. Ake's played the last 6, I think it is, in a row, so you could
So he's due
argue
a
that he's
pension.
due a benching. Well, that's it. You're going to bring him in, and I mean, last time I brought him in last season, and he tore a hamstring in the
I
Champions League, and I
remember.
never got a minute out of him. So, and I think I brought him in for a double game week then. So there's history there. It's a little bit like buying Reece James. So I don't know how you put him on there ahead of Walker, but basically, yeah, it's scaring me buying Ake again. It's bringing back old memories. But yeah, and then we've got our golden nugget. Is that Alfie Doughty in the
It
background
is.
there?
It is. He's been a
Doughty,
bit of a
yeah,
star, hasn't he?
he looks like a very shrewd budget buy,
Absolutely.
and wouldn't be surprised if he's on every wild card that's coming. Very attacking, great game against Sheffield United this week. I might even get Doughty in this week because it would allow me to bench Estupinan, who I don't even think will necessarily start against
Sounds.
Tottenham, and if he
It
does, he's
sounds
going to
like you.
get a kick in anyway. So.
It sounds like you're taking a -12, -16 with
Well,
all
I
these
think I'm
players
gonna
you're
have to.
getting in.
I'm not afraid to take a -4 this week, just to stagger
Yeah.
the build up. And if you're getting players with more doubles coming,
Yeah.
because I do plan to go late with the
Yeah.
chips, then I think it's a good week to do that. You're getting a lot of bang for buck. And then if you haven't got Jota already, he looks to be a great pick. I mean, a lot of people might be doing Gordon to Jota. I've seen that's a very popular transfer because Gordon's flagged at the
Yeah.
moment and very benchable this week. So if you want to move for Jota this week and you need about 2.6 or something to get to him, then Jota's a really good pick as well. Certainly until Salah is back playing again.
Saw
So
a
yeah, there's just 5. Yeah.
saw a tweet an hour or two ago. I think it was from a kind of either a newspaper sort of cutting or a kind of Mail Online thing saying that Salah is probably very likely not going to be fit for Burnley, which obviously is really, really good for Jota and Darwin. And I think it also puts significant minutes doubts for the double the following week, especially because they've got the cup final. I said this about Haaland, didn't we, a few weeks ago when he's back. I couldn't see him getting 90 minutes kind of over the 2 games. I think he got 60 or 65 over the 2 we talked about. I can't see Salah getting any more than kind of 90 minutes over the double fixture for Brentford and Luton notwithstanding the fact they've got the cup final and they're going to want him fit and rearing for that as well.
Exactly.
So I think
that's the
Luton game,
target, is getting ready for the final. He might get 30 minutes off the bench in one of the games.
Yeah, this is it.
And then...
So I think that Jota and Darwin are good for minutes, I think. Couple of comments in the chat. Shaz asked, what about Robertson? I did have a look at Robertson, actually, as, and again, just a bit expensive. You're not going to, with Virgil, if he's fit, he's 90 minutes every single game. With Robertson, Gomez has been playing really well. Robertson's actually been singing Gomez's, his praises as well. And obviously Simicast, I know he's out at the moment, but he'll be fit. Guy in the chat, Guy Parfit, put Rich holding Simicast for double game week 37. I like that one. That's very well played there, Guy. Daniel says, I'd rather have Tony than Darwin. That's interesting. Obviously Tony. I think
Tony featured quite a lot in recent weeks on these picks, and Tony's really worth a mention. Still, the Absolutely. Only issue is just the fixtures. The fixtures for Brentford I don't know if we can bring them back up, but they're pretty rough. Yeah. Almost all the way up to game week 29. They're pretty rough. So it's definitely no problem. It's a very efficient pick to pick Tony. Tony's the sort of player that Ben Crellin will bring in this week, because he will see that he, gets him a game week 26 non-blanker, that he gets him a guaranteed fixture in game week 29, and he has an extra doubler. So it's a sound pick to pick Tony, as long as you don't mind playing him in some tough fixtures. He's on pens. It's just those three striker spots. Who are you letting go for Tony? You letting Watkins go for Tony? Or are you letting Solanke go for Tony with a double game week? It's not a straightforward decision. But if you're literally struggling, if you're someone who's got 5 or 6 or maybe even 7 people blanking in game week 26, then bringing Tony in is a really sound move.
Yeah, agree. Just I'm looking at the chat. Palace have no Elise. I think Elise's out for a couple of months. Ede's out for a few weeks as well.
Brought back too soon, wasn't he? He was one of your punts, Elise, wasn't he?
He was. Yeah. What a footballer he is. Just a shame. And Pravin says, replace Richarlison to Jota. I wouldn't do that. I'm thinking Richarlison.
He's a solid hold, isn't he, at the moment on his form?
Home to Brighton this week. Spurs have got a full squad. Sonny's back. Bissouma's back as well. All the injured players, Maddison, Romero, they're all back. The Spurs, I think, are going to go on a really good run. I'm not saying they're going to be in the hunt for the title. I'm not saying, being a Spurs fan, but I think they're gonna really have a good finish this season if they don't have this, the kind of similar thing with all the injuries they had at kind of all at one time. Sonny going off as well. That draw against Everton last week was a bit of a killer, that last minute one. But apparently Spurs have now got practically a fully fit squad to play with. So no Europe, and no, in the cup still. I can't think they're in the cup, and they're out the cups as well. So it's only the league. So yeah, fancy Spurs. Okay, I'm gonna reveal my wildcard draft now. Please don't laugh, everyone in the chat, but I am very, very interested in your thoughts on this. I haven't had a lot of time to actually prepare, so this was just this is just an initial thought on what a wildcard could do for me. Bear in mind, I would have to make a -8 or -12 just to get a team I would want this week. Is why I'm doing it. The reveal is here. Kaminsky in goals with Neto. I think I've probably gone a bit too all in with Kaminsky for Luton. I think there's probably a better option there for a keeper. But bear in mind, I'm not going to really want to make any keeper transfers this season. So I'll probably hold... would I hold Kaminsky or Neto? I might just hold Kaminsky. I don't know. He blanks in 26. Need to think about that one. It'll probably be Kaminsky or Neto. Again, I'm not bothered for holding one for 29. I just can't get excited about him. Like Evans, hold.
You've got Areola. Have you let Areola
let him go? But he's playing Aston Villa. Why would I want to? It's just this is what I mean about not making decisions based on a game week so far down the line where it's actually not even a good fixture. Villa will score. Villa have Villa scored every game this season, I think, or every games, or whatever it is. That's so. I'm not sure on the keeper. Neto obviously doubles in 28. Kaminsky doubles in both of them, but Kaminsky does black in 26. The defence, more interestingly, I've held Gabriel. I think he looks really dangerous. They've got this. Is it a new set piece coach, Arsenal, haven't they? And Gabriel looks really threatening. Had another shot on target last week. Arsenal are rock solid. They've got good fixtures, so he is a hold for me.
Keeping Gabby, yeah.
Virgil van Dijk coming in, I think, for all the reasons we have spoken about. Alfie Doughty coming in for the reasons we have spoken about. Noria brought in, which may look a bit left field, but did you see his positioning last week? He's basically on the penalty spot. He looked great, and Wolves run from 26 onwards. So Wolves are home to Sheffield United in Gameweek 26, and they have a really, really good 3 or 4 fixtures after that, which is why I'm kind of looking at Wolves. They'll be benched until then, which is fine. And Senesi from Bournemouth, who looks the most nailed defender there, obviously for the double in 28 and plays in 26 as well. So that's the back 5. The premium there is Virgil 6.3, so I can look to maybe shift him around a bit later on if I need to. Onto midfield, De Bruyne. I've kept Saka again. I can't face getting rid of him. He's just so consistent.
I think can I challenge you on that? I think we maybe spoke about this before we went on, but what about Son in that position instead? Not much difference in price, extra $500,000, but what about Son instead of Saka coming back? Massive differential for the weekend on
he is.
Everyone who's sold him.
He blanks in 26. Son is the only problem there. Is the blank. Whereas if you look at the graphic at all the zeros I've got in Gaming 26, I've got 5 already. So I'm bare boned, but I think it's a great option. Sonny or Richarlison. That's the one I kind of want in there instead of Saka. Jota, in for obvious reasons. Foden in for obvious reasons as well, and Haaland. I'm not going to bang on about them. Darwin as well. He's just he's just
I like
everywhere.
Adebayo as an enabler because it's giving you lots of funds, and you've got him in there for the double. Really like that. Still very low owned, and Luton, great fixture immediately. I just think based on what you just said about Tottenham, I'm really surprised you don't have any Tottenham players in that team.
And it's because I'm scared. I'm scared of Saka.
I know. But you've still got 2 cracking home games. I know Wolves have done well and Brighton are an attacking side, but they've got 2. You've got home game. Then you could arguably sell them both or sell one of them in the blank if you need to, or just hold them through to 29, because I just think that although you're saying, oh, never mind about 29, it's a long way in the future, and you've got an opportunity to put a Spurs player in here that you arguably could captain that week and not have to use a transfer bringing him in. You also don't have Solanke in this draft, who you're baking in a transfer to bring in 28. Right. So I would consider a Spurs asset in here, mate.
So my loose plan with this team is to obviously play this in 24. In terms of my predicted points, I'm only predicted to score about 9 more points than my than my team, but I would have to take a -8 or -12 to get to that. So it's in fact 20 more points this week straight away, which I'm really happy with. I would have with this team, if I kept Kaminsky, which I'm not sure I will, but I would have 9 doublers in 25. I would obviously look to save a transfer. 9 doublers in 25, which is obviously really, really strong.
That's nice.
No hits taken to get that either. And I would hold then. So then in 26, I think I would look to do, and again, I haven't given this loads of thought. Oh, sorry, just touch on Neto as well. He's in for the same reason as Nori for 26. Fixtures are great, but do you know, I forgot Hwang is cheaper than Neto, and Hwang is back now, so I'll probably put Hwang in there instead of Neto. 5.5, I think Hwang is. In 26, I'd probably take out Darwin, and I think I want. I don't know about Watkins or Solanke coming back in for that spot in 26. I'd have to give it some thought nearer the time. I've already got double Bournemouth and triple Luton for 28, so I've already got 6 doublers in for that. Once you add Solanke in there as well. That's my loosish plan. I haven't thought about 27.
Yeah, there's a lot of extra games. You're getting a lot of extra games. Yeah. You're going to have at least 3 or 4 on most people who are tiptoeing their way to 25, and then you've got at least 3 or 4 more than most people are going to have in 28 as well. So I think you're getting a lot of extra games as well as taking no hits and sorting the team out. So you can see that wildcard's worth 20, 25 points to you just in appearance points alone.
Yeah, and this,
and that's nice.
Yeah, it is. I like I say, I'm not giving 4 to 29, and maybe I think about this wrongly, or I think it's over egged, and I think I actually want. Well, I don't know. I don't know what I want. I don't know if I want just the 3 fixtures or I want more, but I'm not bothered about missing out on potentially 5 game weeks of serious points just for a couple of appearance points off a couple of players I'm not that bothered about having anyway. Like I say, like Areola, he'll concede against Villa, so I'm not bothered. Even if Watkins plays and scores, right, and gets bonus and gets 8 points, I'm got 5 weeks worth of points here to play with. So, like I say, I'm not.
You're getting a lot of good challenges in the chat, which is what you want, because you can look back over this and look at those points. But one of the things I've just picked up from the chat is, if you didn't go KDB and you had Foden as your cheaper mid from City, you had Son in that position as the premium in midfield, you could then have a City defender to balance up your 3 City. Much cheaper to do it that way, give you a bit of extra cash in the bank, and arguably Son's a better asset than KDB. None of us had KDB in our sides when he was fit. When Son was fit and firing, he's a goal scorer. He's one of the best finishers in the world. And KDB, we know, is an assister, and he's also 1.2, 1.3 million more than Son now to buy. So you've got a choice on Wildcard to have KDB or Son.
How much is Son?
I've had Son 9.6.
Can't go from Saka to Son 9.1. I'm sure I could squeeze 0.1.
You could have Saka as well. You could have Son and Saka, but just lose KDB.
Well, maybe. I'm not over enamored with the defenders for City. But like as you said, you don't know who's going to play.
Yeah, but you could have a City. What risk are you taking? You could have a City defender and then move him to 8 Nori later. I mean, it's 8 Nori. You could have City defender and bench him some weeks.
I'm not overly.
I don't know. It's just a suggestion. Yeah. There's lots of different ways you can look at this, mate. And I just think that you've hit the button. So, it just looks a bit, it just looks a bit too template and a bit too what the non-wild carders will move to. And I think you've got to try and have some lower owned differentials in there in order to gain. That's just my impression of it, because people are getting De Bruyne, they're getting Jota, they've got Saka. Everyone's got Saka already. You're not going to lose ground, but you want to try and make up some explosive points as well as extra game appearance points.
I agree,
and that's what I think.
I agree on Son. I agree. I just pointed out, if I do Neto to Hwang, it releases the money for me to do Saka to Son. I think I want De Bruyne. I think I want De Bruyne. He's looked really good since he's come back. He's great on bonus. I appreciate he's expensive, but I don't want a Man City defender. And the thing is, they've got no attacking threat either. Ake has, but is he going to play? I don't know. I don't want to bench. I don't want to bench.
He's going to get. The City defender might get 2 out of the next 3 games, and so as long as you've got a sub, and also the good thing about City defenders is they don't tend to cameo so much. They either start and play, in which case you'll get a bench defender getting a start instead. So that's quite a good thing about City defenders. Unless there's an injury, they don't tend to come on for the 1-pointers. So I think I'll be getting a City defender, just because I like the idea. I think there's a strong possibility that some of those Liverpool and City games end up 1-0 to the home side, and then then the defenders start getting the bonus points and stuff. So especially in double game weeks, playing 4-4-2 is often not a bad way to play double game weeks. So just an option.
No,
there's loads of options
that.
here,
I
mate.
will give that. I will give that a think. I think the takeaway there for me is Son. You're right. His ownership is going to be mega low. They've got Spank. If only they didn't blank in 26. The only thing, because I'm already up to my kind of limit, so I need to think about it.
Someone in the chat said he may be jaded. He may be, but he's the captain of the team. and he's arguably been at a training camp for 3 weeks with the Asia Cup. I think it's like he's going to come back. He's going to have a rest and he's going to play. He's going to start that Brighton game. I'd be amazed if he doesn't.
And like I say, Brighton and Wolves at home is pretty good. Yeah, something to think about. Thank you, Rich. I really appreciate that, and thank you for all the comments in the chat. I really, really do appreciate that. But yeah, I'm definitely wildcard in 100%. There's no way I'm plotting this out and then going back to my team, which we'll be looking at in a minute, and putting that out. So yeah. Captain this week, Hub Predictor, Haaland, 7.7 points. De Bruyne, second on 5.9. Saka, third on 5.8. I've bumped Son's minutes up. So that's why he's not on here, but Son will be up here. FPL has still got Son flagged at 75% as well, because of his unavailability, his international duty, which is why he's not shown on here. And on the vote on fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, Haaland 62% of the vote, Jota second, Foden third, De Bruyne fourth. Rich, are we back to the big man?
I think so. Yeah, we've got to bring him in first. Hopefully, he doesn't go up to 14.3 million by the time I buy him. But I think it'll be a late decision, not because I'm not buying him, but because I'm not sure who I'm selling. So back to that point, if Alvarez gets a start, I'm tempted to just I might do Haaland, roll the second transfer to 25, and then or get sort of my defender issue out with the second transfer rather than buy Darwin this week. But yeah, tempting to buy Darwin, but I will probably captain Haaland. Yeah, it's time to do that. He's had his start now. I expect he will improve with each game fitness-wise, and I think he's a clear captaincy shout this week.
Daniel Banks says 8% only going Jota cap. Yeah, that's it. Everyone's back on Haaland, right? I'm not convinced on Haaland what I've seen so far. Like, he was marked by about 5 defenders in the Brentford game. He looked rusty in his first one. Not convinced so far, but we all know what he's like, and I think he'll find it hard against Everton. I think Everton's centre backs are pretty tough. They'll give him a bit of a torrid time, but Man City are just playing so well at the moment. He will get chances. I think he had a couple of shots. Got some shots off, shot the target, got the assist as well. So I think it's got to be Haaland having it. If you miss out, I think so. I am tempted by something like Darwin. He had his rest last week, and he's got Burnley, and like I say, Burnley are just not great against
Burnley and Sheffield United. Really are teams to target at the moment.
Exactly that.
They are targetable, and they when I look at and Brentford weren't a bad side. They didn't give they lasted a whole half, didn't they, against the City onslaught on Tuesday, and I can't, I don't know, Everton away. They're at home at the Etihad next 3 games. I just think they could score 15 goals in those 3 games.
Same. I agree. Yep. Haaland in, Haaland cap. Fergie is a punt. Gameweek 24-27. Last week was a flop. Almiron, he was just a bit of a fun pick, to be honest. But other than that, I have been on a fair bit of form. I've picked a player now. He's not in my wildcard team. He probably should be. We haven't mentioned him yet. But 3 great fixtures in the next 2 game weeks. Has a Plum home fixture this week. Good double next week. Highest expected points for his team in the last 4 game weeks. Even though he hasn't scored the most points, he's had the highest expected points. Very cheap enabler. Lots would choose him, I think, if they could. And it is Ross Barkley. Who would have thought, Rich, that Ross Barkley could potentially be back on the menu after all these years? But like I say, fixtures are really good. Blanked in 26. In his last 4 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, 12 shots, 4 on target, 3 shots in the box. Plenty of key passes, lots of creation as well. I say the highest expected points in the last 4 games, and that includes the Adebayo hat-trick as well. Barkley should have scored more than him. So interesting. Is he one who interests you at all, or is it just too many good midfield options?
I think as an enabler, I mean, I'll probably end up, despite the bank and the difficult fixtures, I'll still probably end up holding Palmer. I think I got Palmer at 4.9, and I think given the value he offers, and he could still score another 10 goals before the end of the season. I just I've got a penalty taker there. I just don't have that position, But he's there up there with the Garnacho picks and stuff like that. If you want an enabler in midfield, he's not a bad shout. He's a really good shout, certainly in the short term. I think you'll see him in a lot of teams around game week 28 as people move money around to bring back premiums.
Same. People just asking in the chat around when I'm using my chips. I don't think I'll bench boost in 20. Obviously, there's the opportunity too, but I'll be bench boosting single players. Single game week players, which I don't really want to do. As I said, 34 and 37, the doublers are going to be the bigger teams who generally score more goals, and keep more clean sheets. So I'm just going to hold off. I'll probably pay my triple captain in 25, maybe free hit in 29. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm not really that bothered for 29. As I say, I'll see how that plays out, and then we'll just see for the bench boost. But I haven't really thought much past 28, to be honest. Rich, we've got your team on screen. Do you want to let us know what your plans are for the week?
Yeah. Okay. I plan to bring Haaland in, so that will definitely be happening. I will probably sell Alvarez for him, unless we hear Alvarez is starting.
Man City play first, don't they? So we're likely to get a leak on Saturday morning.
Often get a leak, often get a leak. So it'll be a very late transfer, and therefore I'm risking a price rise on Saturday morning or a price fall. I think Alvarez has fallen back in price already to 6.8. So certainly that there's a price on waiting, and it's costing me team value wise. However, I'm not averse to letting Watkins go, because it gets me an extra couple of million in the bank to do something else with. So it will be possibly Watkins to Darwin, or possibly Solanke to Darwin as well. I will keep one of them, but tempting to bring Darwin in just for the upside. If there's no news on Salah, then I will bring in Darwin, I should think, rather than work on the defence this week. If Salah looks like he might be back, I've got the money to do it in 2 moves with Haaland for free. I've got enough money in the bank. I'd have to sell Saka, but I would do it if I could get Klopp said Salah's going to start and he's ready. I would have Salah and Haaland back in a heartbeat, because for the same reason I've told you to get Son, no one else has got him. Yeah. And you've got an opportunity to have him when no one else has got him for a double game week, and people will struggle to get Salah back if they've not got the funds. So definitely got an eye on that, and that's why maybe rolling the second transfer is good, because Salah is a good healer and he could be back for 25. So I haven't written off getting him. I do need to sell Tsimikas, and I'm tempted to do the sensible move with that and bring in Ake or Walker for him to give me a doubler who plays in 26 first of all. A bit of a bonus getting Maguire back. I think he's liable to play most games for United now because of the Martinez injury that took place in the last game. Right. So that's good getting that bench player back that I can use. And arguably I'll start Maguire ahead of Estupiñán away to Tottenham this week. I don't expect much from him, but at least he's back playing for me. And hopefully Anthony Gordon isn't too injured, because I'm happy to keep Gordon till at least 26 if he's okay, and just bench him this week. So yeah, I'll captain Haaland. Vice is a bit more open. I'll probably put it on Foden based on the fact that it's doing so well. Yeah, there we go.
Good stuff, Rich. Yeah, you're very well set up there. Very well played.
Well, it's reasonable. I've seen teams out there that are a lot better set than mine, but it doesn't feel like a wild card.
No, it's not. It's not for you. Your recommended transfers this week: Tsimikas to Trent and Watkins to Haaland were your 2 recommended transfers.
Yeah, Trent. I think is a hold, don't buy.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like with Trent right now. If you've got Trent, no worries. You could fill your boots, but I don't think he'll play that Luton game. Just doesn't think he'll be. Bradley's a perfectly good deputy.
Agree. Looking at my team as it currently stands, it's not in bad shape. Aside from I haven't got any Liverpool attackers or City attackers, so I've got decent players, and this is the thing. It's a fairly decent team that I'm I'm throwing away here, but there's no way I'm going to the next game week, this coming game week, and especially the following one, without Liverpool and City attackers in force. And I've only got one free transfer as well. So as I said, I really want. There's nothing worse than watching Liverpool, especially when they're home to Burnley, right? Without having Darwin or Jota. Liverpool could win that game 4-5-0, 4-5-1, goals everywhere, and I'm stuck on these other.
You mean you want to sign up for watching Darwin hit the woodwork 5 times in a match in this game rather than 4 times last week? I mean, he's arguably a nightmare own for FPL. I only sold him 3 or 4 weeks ago, and here I am buying him back again just because he's irresistible because of the number of chances he gets. He clearly does the job of getting into the place to have the chances. So he's almost arguably done the hard work. This guy just can't finish.
He can't, but he's also been exceptionally unlucky. He's inches out. Like I say, I think I mentioned it last week. Remember when Salah first started? The reason he was so bad on bonus was because he had so many shots off target, and they obviously just worked on it, refined it, and now he's He's an absolute machine, and I think Darwin will be as well. So there's no way I am going into Man City, Everton without Haaland. So that's my transfer guaranteed, right? Is that Haaland one? But if I do that, I'm then taking hits for Liverpool attackers against Burnley, and then I have to do it the following week again, and I'm not got the team I want. So I'm going to have fun with it.
I got you. I think your wild card is perfectly sound. I think it's the right time. And I think you're getting a lot for it. And you've got the option. I would just say, in the next 2 days, just make it a little bit different to the herd, and because you give yourself some chances to gain with some good players from good teams.
Agree with that. My recommended transfer was Watkins to Haaland, but wildcard in. And again, just to quickly show up my wildcard team. The only changes, I think, my plan changes currently on that team. I'm not sure on Kaminsky. I probably won't go him. And I'm going to have Hwang instead of Neto and probably Son instead of Saka. As you say, Rich, watch now for a Saka, Watkins, Solanke, Palmer masterclass across the board.
All the ones you've sold.
And Luton get battered. City draw 0-0. But I've made my bed with it, and I've got to be happy with it. So I'm doing that. So this is very roughly the team what I'm going to be wildcard into this week, and I am preparing myself for the pain ahead of next week. I think so. As FPL Big Head says, Fergie, have some fun. Can't win it at this point, so what not? And I absolutely agree. Really good point from Daniel Banks in Acuna as well. I really like it. I know it's obvious, it's easy in hindsight, but Acuna pick is something you could do from 26 onwards as well.
Just
spots. This is it. You got Haaland, Watkins, Solanke, all these players. So going for it. Let's do it, and hopefully enjoy the day on Saturday. I'm not sure who's playing on Saturday, but listen to the day I've got on Saturday, right? I'm going for breakfast with my friends, and then going to a snooker exhibition around about 11:30 midday with Stephen Hendry, of which I've helped organise, and I'm the compere, so I'll be meeting Stephen personally and playing against him as well. Straight after that, it's Wales versus England in the rugby as well, which is going to be brilliant.
I'm going out for that.
There's going to be football on all day, and also in the evening there's like a live band and stuff in our local club. So I've got a hell of a Saturday, and all I need is for some of these players to bang, and it'll be.
And your Darwin punt is playing at 3. Is it 3 p.m. on Saturday?
Is that where it is?
It's not one of the televised ones, is it? No,
that's going to be the one. It's one of those. I hope I'll.
Well, mate, it sounds like it's perfectly set up for you to do the match of the day challenge, because you've got such a busy day with snooker, rugby, beers, whatever else. You should try and last till match of the day and not know the results.
I'm going to be honest, mate. I'm not going to be able to see by match of the day. Bear in mind, I'm going out about 11 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, it's a pretty good show, though. All I want to see is a result. Look at my phone. Liverpool 5, Burnley 0, and then look and then see that Gravenberch hat-trick.
Nunes got 4 of them, yeah.
Gravenberch hat-trick and whatever else.
Yeah. Simicast, the other 2, yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. That is it from us for this week. Thank you so much for everyone who joined in the chat. Those who watch it back and those listening on the podcast versions, your support is very, very much appreciated as usual. Rich, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people get hold of you?
At Rich Clarke FPL on Twitter.
Lovely job. And mine is at FFH_Fergi. So this podcast video will be in the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watch, please press the like button. Remember to subscribe to the channel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast and leave a comment. We'll be back next week. I don't think we'll be back Thursday. It's my daughter's 18th next Thursday, so doing something for that. But it'll be another day in the week. Hopefully, Rich. Do you know what? If Liverpool, Man City draw and Luton get battered, and Watkins, Solanke, and Saka and Porro and they all bang, it's gonna be a tough week. Yeah. In the meantime, we hope you have a great Gameweek 24, and may all your arrows be green. Good night, all.